Alright, so this is a project I've been working on for, I don't know, a little over, probably about a year and a half. I've built a few of these. I'll kind of explain what I did. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm not going to recommend you do it. If you do it and you don't do something right, or you don't use a gun strong enough and you blow yourself up, that's completely on you. I do not recommend you do this unless you really know what you're doing with gunsmithing, and then I still ain't going to recommend it because you're playing with things that were never intended to be. And I'll leave it at that. This is my double barrel express rifle. One of them. This is a 416 Taylor. This is the first or second one I ever made. The first one was a 450 Nitro Express. 416 Taylor is a 458 Winchester Magnum, neck down to 416. It's a rimless cartridge. It's belted, but it's a rimless cartridge. I will never, ever do one of these on a rimless cartridge again, because if you look here, there's no extractor. There's no extractor because I've made 3 sets of extractors for this, and they're so fragile that they break a lot. So I need to make another set and maybe make them out of stainless steel or something, I don't know. But the front sight is a regular rifled front sight that, you know, I mounted on there. I soldered the rib on there. I made this rear sight base. I bought a leaf and I had to file it to the load I wanted. I love this rifle. It's a little heavy. It's a really pretty rifle though. But it's just like I said, there's a lot of pressure in this when you're building these. If you look closely, yeah, you probably can't see it. Right here, there's a seam. This was a double barrel shotgun originally. When I got it, somebody had tried to cut the barrels down, and they tried to cut them right at 18, and they cut them at such a crappy angle that by the time you were to straighten the angles out and that, the barrels would have been under 18 inches, making this gun illegal if I'd have left it as a shotgun. I couldn't straighten the barrels out because they cut them at such an angle. At the very shortest part of the angle, it was literally 18 inches. So I cut the barrels off. I threaded the inside of the shotgun barrels. I cut them at 2 3/4 inches long, cut them off. I threaded the inside to 7/8 fine thread. I took 2 rifle barrels, turned them down on a lathe, threaded them to 7/8 fine thread, screwed them into there, and then did my welding and soldering. If you look on this action, it locks up here on this, and then it has 2 really heavy duty lugs, and that's why I was able to do 416 Taylor on this one, because it's such a heavy action that it could withstand the pressures. I've got probably, I don't even want to guess anymore. I've got over 250 rounds through this, probably closer to 500. It's never shown any signs of stretching, anything else. It's just as good as the day that I built it. This is one I have that I cut a piece of sheep horn and inlaid it in there. This is a really old shotgun. This was Damascus barreled. The barrels were pitted and they were so thin that this gun was no longer safe to shoot. So I did the same thing on this one. And here you can see I cut the shotgun barrels off, threaded the inside of it to 7/8 fine thread, I don't know if you can see that because I haven't cut it out for the ejector yet, or extractor yet. Threaded them in. This is literally welded on each end into it, and then the ribs and the sights and all that will be soldered. This is going to be 450 Nitro Express. This gun should probably be a 4570 black powder only load. It has one little lug here in the back that's not real big, and it locks up here. I am going to do this as a 450 Nitro Express because the very first one I did was 450 Nitro Express, and I let a buddy of mine talk me into selling it, and I just want another 450 Nitro Express. When I go to shoot this, I am going to mount this. These here are the firing pin retainer bolts. These are not going to stay like this. These, I'm going to put set screws in there that'll keep the firing pins from coming back out. But I'm going to strap this down on a bench, and I am going to shoot quite a few loads through this before I ever shoulder this thing, because I don't know, this thing, there's a very good chance, being that this action is one of the lightest 12 gauges I've ever seen. I mean, it's just really light metal, you know, not like bad metal. It was just, it was not a beefy 12 gauge. This was the smallest 12 gauge I've ever held. When I originally bought it, I thought it was a 16 gauge or even a 20 gauge. And it was just, I bought it as a wall hanger at a gun show. But, I mean, it's really light duty gun. Really light 12 gauge. I may change my mind before I chamber this, and it may be 4570, but if I go with 40 or 450 Nitro Express, it will be, like I said, strapped down. It will be fired with a string, at least probably 20 to 30 times. And after every shot, I will take a feeler gauge and try and measure in between here to make sure that there's no gaps, there's no stretching in that. I'll take micrometers and measure the locking lugs and that to see if there's any stretch in that. But I do not recommend building on light 12 gauges like that. Just for reference, here's a 12 gauge shell. Here's a 450 Nitro Express. That's a 458 caliber. These, I believe, are 350 grain bullets. I do have some 500 grain solids. I mean, this is just a gigantic bullet. I mean, it's like sticking cigars down the tubes. But it'll be an interesting video. If it doesn't survive, you guys will get to watch me blow up a gun on a video. I always had a fascination with safari rifles. Here's another one that I did on a Mauser action. This is a 458 Lott. It's got a what they call a spoon style handle. I really like this gun. It's got the safety here instead of up here like the regular Mauser. It's got a Timney trigger in it. It's got a, I believe that's a Williams. Yeah, Williams peep sight on the rear. Just because as I get older, I find it the peep sight's easier for me to use. This is a 458 Lott. It's 458 or 40, 45 caliber like the 450 Nitro Express. The brass is the same length as a 375 H&H. It's a belted Magnum. A lot of work goes into building these. When you start getting into these big guns like this, like I said, I'm not going to recommend that anybody does that. This barrel I bought, or actually this barrel was given to me, but it was an Adams and Bennett barrel already threaded for a Mauser 98 action. I could have went with 458 or 458 Winchester Magnum. It would have been a lot easier, but I just wanted 458 Lott. So But like I said, I'm not going to recommend anybody does this, just because, like I said, if you don't do it right, you make a mistake, you could really hurt yourself. I'm just showing these because I like building these. Um, I built a number of them. I'm very cautious. I do proof loads, which is 1.5 times what a factory load is. I'll fire 2 to 4 proof loads out of each barrel with it strapped down before I'll ever even consider shooting this thing off my shoulder. And then, like I said, when I do these, I measure these lugs, the distance in between them, the distance on the length like that, even the distance this way, to make sure that they're not stretching or nothing like that, before I ever shoulder it. Another thing I do is like this one here. You can't get a feeler gauge in there. I don't care how thin a one you try. It locks up tight. I constantly check this. Even though I've fired somewhere between 250 and 500 rounds through this, about every 20 rounds I fire through it, I just check to see if I can get a feeler gauge in there and that. And I check them lugs and that because I don't want to ever have a problem. But this is my 416 Taylor. My 458 Lott. And like I said, I always had a fascination as a kid. I read books by Peter Capstick and some of the others, Sasha Samel, safari hunters over in Africa and guides and that. And I just had a fascination with elephant guns. Always wanted to build them. I have no use for them or need for them in Michigan, but that's the great thing about our Second Amendment. I don't have to have a need or a use. I can have it because I want it. That's my right. So here pretty soon, I'm going to get back to work on this. There's not really a whole lot left to do other than cleaning up the edges around where these 2 barrels meet to try and hide the seam. I got to make firing pins for it, solder the ribs on it, either make or buy a front sight and probably make a rear sight base in that. So as it goes along, I will keep you guys up to date on it if you're interested. If not, there will be other videos, probably one with my Uzi, probably an AK video. I like all kinds of guns. I just have a fascination with old guns and history and unusual guns. So on this channel, I want to try and show a little bit of everything. And some guns I don't have, I'll borrow to do videos on. But these are my safari rifles. This one's not done yet. Like I said, when it gets done, you guys will be able to see the video of it either blowing up or surviving. If it survives the nitro loads, I may end up just dedicating this as a 450 Black Powder Express, which was the parent to the 450 Nitro Express. 450 Nitro Express, or 450 Black Powder Express, was out before Nitro smokeless powder came out. And when smokeless powder came out and that, then of course they switched over to smokeless powder and it became the 450 Nitro Express instead of the 450 Black Powder Express. So like I said, this may just eventually be a Black Powder Express rifle, but good proof loads with nitro. If it can hold up to nitro loads, it'll definitely hold up to black powder loads. So if you guys got any questions, throw them in the comments. If there's any videos you'd like to see of different guns, if it's something I don't have, let me know. I'll borrow it. I have lots of friends with lots of different guns and lots of different interests. Like I said, I'll probably be doing a video when the weather warms up. I'll do a video on my SKSs and my AK-47. You guys have seen some of my ARs. I'll probably do some more AR videos, but right now I'm just in the mood to mess with some of this older stuff or historical stuff or just different stuff than what everybody else is doing. That's why I did the Fit Special video Them are kind of historical and they're very unusual guns. That's why I did videos on my conversions, because you don't see a whole lot of conversions out there. Um, and like I said, I like all firearms. I just if it shoots bullets, I like it. So hope everybody has a great day, and I'll talk to you later.